you struggle with pitching or hesitate when it comes to selling your services, you're not alone. Pitching in the early days of starting a business can be a tough nut to crack, especially because you may find yourself having to pitch at your local bowling alley, in a corporate boardroom, or in every setting in between. If you don't learn how to pitch in different settings, you're losing out on many opportunities. In this video, I'll cover specific ways to give the right pitch at the right time so you can meet clients where they're at and close more deals. An informal setting is something that happens spontaneously. You're standing in line for something and you're talking, right? You haven't really planned for this. It just happens and they ask you what you do. In this setting, I recommend that you speak less and you listen a lot. So say what you have to say about the service that you have, the consulting business that you have, and be prepared to sort of, and we'll talk about this in a bit, about your maybe 10-second pitch, conveying the value and describing what you do in 10 seconds, and have something a bit longer, maybe a 30-second pitch, so you can elaborate more, and then also have a 2-minute pitch where you can elaborate further. But again, all of that is happening in a way that you really haven't planned for. You bumped into someone, or someone emailed you, or you're catching up with an old friend, and they say, hey, what are you up to? So you go over without going into a lot of details and into a lot of technical aspects. You just tell them briefly about what is it that you offer, and then listen a lot. The formal setting is that you've talked to the lead, they've learned about you, you've sent them material, they went to your website, they went maybe your YouTube channel, and now they like you, they like what you offer, and they want you to go and pitch to maybe the business owner or to the C-level, to the CEO or the CFO. So the formal setting requires more preparation, it's scheduled, you have a lot of time to prepare, and by that time, you should be really ready to propose a solution. If you look at the sales funnel for a second here, you'll see that, and we do have a video on this, the ultimate guide to sales funnels. If you don't have a sales process, a sales system in place today, I highly recommend you set up a system. This top of the funnel, this awareness stage, people just don't know who you are and what you do. So that's where that maybe informal setting type of pitch, where you're briefly describing what it is that you do and then learning more from them. As you're educating the client, as they're learning more about your business, as they're evaluating your solution, as they're maybe talking to other competitors, then you, at that phase, you're more likely to be in a place where you're asked to do a formal pitch, a formal setting. And again, in my corporate background, a formal pitch could be something that we plan for a month. We might have to go on site, bring an army of folks with us to prepare for the pitch, different subject matter experts. So a formal setting is typically later in the sales process, and that informal pitch is more early on when you are just meeting someone and letting them know about what you do. So moving to the next step and digging a little bit deeper about the informal setting. And again, this could be over the phone, over Zoom, it could be in person, it could be someone you just met at the gym, or which something you definitely should be doing as a new business owner, as a new consultant, for your new venture, or if you're thinking about having your own business, it's okay to network. You can go and see how do this in action, and you can test out that pitch. So in this informal setting, again, walk you through an example. I am at a networking event and grabbing for that blueberry muffin, and someone, hey, John, they see your name tag and say, hey, my name is Jane, and they're doing the same thing. They're telling you about what they're offering and what they're selling, or they could be someone who's genuinely just want to meet you. So what do you do? And this is the time to have that 10-second pitch and say, yeah, we do X, Y, and Z, right? And we'll go over some examples. If you're preparing for your sales pitch, if you're trying to become better at pitching, imagine these scenarios. If I met someone at the gym, if I'm standing in line, how do I tell people about what I do without being obnoxious about it? Balance is important. There's not a whole lot of balance in life in general, but you're going to sacrifice some things to start this business. That's just part of it. You got to work hard. You have to be a walking billboard, in my mind, again, without being obnoxious about it. You don't want to be pitching at a funeral. You don't want to be pitching at a wedding. Well, maybe at the reception. I've done it before. Maybe and you learn this. This is an art. You're not going to master this that first day. So trial and error. When you make a mistake, okay, feel bad about it for a minute, for two, for a day, and then get up and go back and do it better the next time around. So back to this concept of the informal setting, imagine that scenario and be prepared. And I'll give you an example or examples of of a bad pitch and a good pitch. So when we started one of our companies in the past, we were selling analytics, and this is over 10 years ago. Most people didn't know what analytics is. And we had a small team at the time, maybe 4, 5, 6 of us. And, we're consultants and we knew this stuff, and we were Google certified partners. So I'd go around and say, when people ask me, what is it that you do? Say, we have an analytics consulting agency. Feeling great. I can still remember the blank looks on their faces. Like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Again, this is 10, 12 years ago. You say analytics now, everybody gets it. And I wasn't getting any traction after that. So I used to go to all these events. I would go like 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't eat early breakfast. I'd go there for these breakfast networking events just to meet people. I had the sales training where the sales trainer said, print 1,000 business cards and get rid of them over the next 3 or 6 months. And I did. So after all this networking, all this hard work, no one was responding. We were not getting any traction. So we sat down, my business partner and I, with a whole lot of frustration, and we came up with a very concise conversation starter. And we said, instead of saying we have an analytics consulting services agency, we started to say we help companies derive actionable insights from their data. We had a day and night difference in response. And again, people would say, well, what does that mean exactly? So now if you have a website, you have an email system, I can tell you how many visitors you're getting. I can tell you how many people are opening your emails. They got more interested, because in the past it was spray and pray. You do marketing and you pray that it works. With data, with analytics, we can help them improve what is it that they're doing. And this is my example from the company, one of the companies I founded. Again, think about it from your perspective and your audiences. Make sure when you're pitching, you are highlighting the value, you're conveying value to the lead, which is really important. That's the first component of, in the anatomy of a pitch sale, making sure you're conveying value to the lead. The second is credibility. So keep in mind that people buy from people. At the end of the day, they have to trust you. They have to know that you're professional. They have to sense it. They have to feel it. They have to experience it. Part of it is the way you pitch, that you're comfortable, you're confident, you're knowledgeable. And again, I'm going to assume if you're starting or thinking of starting a consulting business or a services business, you have that domain knowledge. And probably you're very good at something that you've done, that HR consulting, that IT consulting, whatever it is, that paper shredding business, lawn mowing services, it doesn't have to be technical. So you know that domain knowledge really well. So in that interaction, in that informal setting, as well as in the formal setting, showing that credibility, not directly say, hey, I have all these certifications. Hey, I'm the best guy around or the best gal around. No, you got to do it properly in a professional manner. So in that conversation, bring it up your certifications, bring it up, hey, we're a Google partner, as I always used to do that. Or if you have a podcast or if you have a blog, anything that also convey that you're really someone who's knowledge and maybe that you're the master of that domain. So credibility comes, again, in different ways, right? Testimonials, quotes, anything that you've published, if you spoke at conferences. So blending those elements of credibility into the conversation without you having sort of to brag about it, just naturally bring those in the conversation, or maybe in the follow-up email or in the follow-up conversation, bring up all the experience, all the certifications, all the things that you've done that will convey that you're credible, you're professional, you have that experience. Another example that actually someone who had reached out to us recently, they have experience in restaurants. They design and manage menus. They help restaurants improve their processes and help them move into sort of that digital transformation to move from pen and paper to digital devices. Let's say you're at a networking event with restaurant owners. So mentioning things that I've implemented 15 of these systems and we've seen, maybe share some results. Or, I'm working with this restaurant chain. Or if you just started the business, don't make things up. It's okay to embellish a little bit, right? But hey, I just implemented this for this restaurant. It could be a small diner. You don't have to mention that word small. Again, I'm all about being authentic, being true. In sales and marketing, it's okay to embellish a little bit. I'm going to get in trouble for that, but I think I'm okay. So don't make things up, but you want to highlight, you want to share. Don't be shy. This is not the time to be shy. You don't want to be arrogant. You don't want to show off, but there's a time and place to bring this and practice this in your pitch, in this, maybe the 2-minute pitch, like mention these things, the certifications, again, the training, the public presentation you've done, the things you published, all that helps. So moving to the next component of pitching, it's about understanding the lead. And that's what I said earlier. I said, memorize the pitch, practice it, make sure it's natural. but we're not robots. So when I go and meet, the example I said earlier about the HR consulting services, I'm not just going to go and list everything I do or everything that the software offers, but listen to the lead, understand their pain points. Their pain points might be cost. What they're paying today for a vendor is too costly. They're looking to save money. For others, maybe they're a new startup and they have a lot of money. Time of service and delivering the service might be their main pain point. So cost is not an issue. If you're listening carefully to the lead, it could be about the quality of the service. So money's not an issue, time is not an issue, but they've tried 3 consultants in the past and they all have failed miserably. So what they're looking for is they want to vet this next vendor, the next consultant, and make sure this is the right fit for their business. So in this process of learning from the lead, from listening to the lead, you want to learn as much as possible. Then on the fly, tweak your pitch or customize the pitch to what you just heard. Some of us may be natural at it, others may not, but it does take practice. And this deliberate practice is important. But I think if you are going into a meeting and reminding yourself that in those initial informal settings, I'm going to say a little and listen a lot, I think that will help. Now, the fourth component for a pitch in an informal setting is about the call to action. So back to the scenario, you're at a networking event, you told them what you do, they give you more information, you told them something more, they got excited. You don't want to leave that setting without a call to action. The main thing is to move them along the sales funnel. Remember, there's awareness and there's signing a contract. And this thing doesn't happen overnight. In that initial phase of the sales process, the goal is to move them closer. So the next thing is if they're interested, maybe in pricing or the way you deliver the service, or they want to know more about your capabilities, is maybe schedule a meeting, maybe a follow-up email with additional information. You have a white paper on the subject. You can use a demo as part of your sales pitch. So what people they're lowering their guards and they want to learn more about you and the technology. So there are a lot of ways to get someone excited, but based on that interaction in the informal setting, this is where you want to leave that setting with something that they agree to. An email, a follow-up call, additional material you want to send, maybe an industry analysis, whatever the case might be. Find a way to convince them to speak with you further and meet with you. And maybe the best thing would be if they can introduce you to other decision makers. So those all would be good call to actions. Again, the goal is to make progress in that sales funnel. Now, we move on to the formal setting. They've invited you to come in and present. Everything we've said so far is still applicable. But now because you know a lot about that business, you've done some research, you looked at the industry they're in, you looked at their competition, you've gone to their website and really understood what they offer, you want to go into that meeting with 2 things in mind. One, you should be able to articulate the problem. That's really important. It's not going to be a top-level discussion at this stage. When you're going to meet the executives or the business owner, you want to be able to articulate the problem that they have and validate that and show that you have a solution that's going to address this problem. And the good thing is, in a formal setting, you'll have the time. If I met Jane Smith a week ago and we agreed to meet, I can say, okay, in a couple of weeks, let's find something on the calendars and come in and pitch. So you'll have time, a week or 2, to prepare for that pitch. So it's really important. Again, 2 things in the formal setting is problem identification, that you've identified the problem, you understand the problem really well, and then you go there with a proposed solution. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty and all the details, but you at least show them that you have an approach to address this problem. Typically, there's a slide deck, a PowerPoint deck. We won't spend a lot of time on this today, but there are a whole lot of resources on this. You can go on Canva, HubSpot, even Asana. They have really some great content on templates for sales pitches, and also on like the 10-second pitch, 30-second pitch. I know you can go on ChatGPT and enter what you're thinking and get some ideas. I would definitely add that authentic part to it. What ChatGPT doesn't know is your own story, your own experience. If you're starting a business tomorrow, it's not like you just started and you have no experience in life or experience in business. Let's say you're 30 and you worked after college when you're 22. So you have 8 years of experience. So you have something to offer, you have something to add. And that is a common question that you might get when you're pitching. How long have you been in business? Have you done business in our vertical? How many clients do you have? These are really tough questions, especially if you just started a business and you have no clients. So you have to have answers for those, and you can't make things up, and you don't want to lie. You shouldn't lie. So this is where you can leverage your credibility, the things I talked about earlier, like your years in the industry, the certifications. People are going to look you in the eye and they're going to connect. If you're authentic, they feel the passion that you're starting this business because you want to help people. And you tell them, I don't have a lot of customers, so you're going to get all my attention, right? I mean, in sales, and this is for a lot of us who didn't have that sales experience, you're not begging for charity. You're matching need with value. You're helping people solve their problems. You're helping people reach, their aspirations. You're helping people get comfortable with things, whatever the service that you offer, right? So keep that in mind as you're thinking about sales, and especially if you're struggling with pitching and with sales in general. And I definitely don't want you to be struggling with sales. I want you to be nurturing leads and closing more deals. So if you're struggling with any part of the sales process, check out this video here where I cover how you can organize and manage your sales process.